Hello there, welcome to ITV News Central. On tonight's programme, the North Shropshire MP Owen Paterson resigns for the sake of his family in the wake of a lobbying scandal and sleaze accusations.
He's obviously felt he needs to go and, yeah, it's probably the right thing, isn't it?
Join me later in Birmingham Centenary Square, where Christmas festivities such as this ice rink are back on for the first time in 2 years. We go inside a wind turbine as we discover how renewable energy won over the locals in Warwickshire.
How Captain Sir Tom Moore's achievements will be remembered over 250 metres of Staffordshire.
And it's going to be clear and cold for any Diwali celebrations this evening. Join me later for a full update.
Good evening. The North Shropshire MP Owen Paterson has resigned in the face of growing outrage over a lobbying scandal and the way the government responded to it.
Just yesterday, MPs voted to scrap the system which holds them to account, and that prevented his immediate suspension after he was found in breach of lobbying rules, which he always denied. We'll fast forward a few hours, and after a government U-turn and claims from all sides that Mr Paterson had been left off the hook, North Shropshire is now in need of a new MP.
Well, in a moment, we'll hear from political correspondent Harry Horton in Westminster. But first, Lewis Warner is in Market Drayton in Mr Paterson's former constituency for us this evening. Lewis, a fast-moving story to say the very least today.
Yes, what a difference a day makes. It was just 24 hours ago on our programme that we were reporting that MPs had voted to support Mr Paterson. They'd effectively thrown their arms around him, given him a wall of support, and he looked strong, in a strong position at that point. But that wall of support appeared to be wearing thin this morning when the government announced it wouldn't actually be going forward with what MPs voted to do just the day before, because they said that the plans didn't have cross-party support, and it's believed that that would not have then been practical. Now, Mr Paterson says that this whole ordeal has caused undue stress on his family. He actually believes the original investigation contributed to his wife's death, and he says it's because of that, because of his family, that he has decided he will no longer be the MP for North Shropshire. A few minutes ago, I spoke to some of his former constituents.
He's obviously felt he needs to go and, yeah, it's probably the right thing, isn't it? You know, so I think the whole thing's a fiasco, really, to be honest.
Well, he should have done it earlier, in my opinion.
Yes, I don't think he had any choice but to do that. But I feel sorry for the man.
Well, tonight the Prime Minister says he is very sad that his old friend Owen Paterson has decided to resign. But let's not forget, it will be that government announcement that was made today in the House of Commons. No doubt that was playing on Mr Paterson's mind. The dizzy world of Westminster politics has come full circle. The Leader of the House, who yesterday argued for a change in accountability rules, today announced it wouldn't go ahead, sparking the resignation of the man at the heart of the controversy. This afternoon, Owen Paterson said, "The last few days have been intolerable for us. Worst of all was seeing people, including MPs, publicly mock and deride Rose's death and belittle our pain. My children have therefore asked me to leave politics altogether, for my sake as well as theirs. I agree with them. I do not want my wife's memory and reputation to become a political football. Above all, I will always put my family first." The row was started after the North Shropshire MP was found to have broken parliamentary rules by continually lobbying ministers on behalf of two private companies who paid him more than £100,000 a year in consultancy fees. The process could have seen Mr Paterson suspended from Parliament and his North Shropshire constituents given the opportunity to oust him from office. But today he took that decision out of their hands and into his.
232.
After yesterday's votes, shouts of shame from the opposition benches preceded the Labour Party, saying it would play no part in the new system. Criticism boiled over, with one Conservative-leaning newspaper even branding the Tory MPs shameless. Such was the strength of anger at Conservatives for supporting Mr Paterson. One Midlands MP had his office vandalised.
If people don't agree with me, argue it in public. Even, if you want to, stand against me in the constituency in Wellingborough. Don't attack my officers. Don't intimidate my staff. They're cowards. They run away. They do these things and then they run off.
Mr. Paterson says he will remain a public servant, but outside what he calls the cruel world of politics. Well, it's important to say that Mr. Paterson strongly denies any wrongdoing. He leaves this constituency that he's represented since 1997 with a by-election looming. And if you'd asked me whether that was likely after the vote yesterday, I'd have probably have said no. But a day is certainly a long time in politics.
That certainly is, Lewis, for the time being in Shropshire. Thank you very much indeed.
Right, now head to Harry in Westminster. And Harry, what does this say then about trust in politics?
Well, it's been a really dramatic 24 hours for Owen Paterson. Yesterday he was thanking his party for rallying to his defence, getting him out of trouble. Today his political career has come to a humiliating end. He has been an MP for the best part of 3 decades, elected in 1997, rose to the position of government minister twice, first as Northern Ireland Secretary, then as Environment Secretary, perhaps most famous for blaming the Badgers for moving the goalpost during a botched Badger cull. Today, the Prime Minister said that he was very sad to see Owen Paterson go. He said that he was a voice for freedom, for free markets, for free trade and free societies. And he pointed out that Owen Paterson was an early and powerful champion of Brexit. I think Owen Paterson would also see himself as a real champion of rural issues. But I think there's many Tory MPs and MPs overall who are pretty dismayed by what's happened over the past 24 hours. They're concerned that this will really undermine trust in politics and in the ability of MPs to police themselves and uphold standards. Now, of course, eyes will turn towards the by-election that will be triggered in North Shropshire. It's up to the Tories to pick the date of when that by-election happens. But with a 20,000 majority for Owen Paterson at the last election, I think the Conservatives will be fairly confident about holding on to that seat.
Thank you, Harry. We'll be following that in North Shropshire, of course. Thank you.
Next tonight, 4 teenagers have been found guilty of murdering a 15-year-old boy outside his home in Handsworth in Birmingham. Keon Lincoln died after being stabbed and shot in January. A 14-year-old gunman and 3 other teenagers aged between 16 and 18 were found guilty earlier. Jurors will resume their deliberations tomorrow on a charge of murder against a 5th defendant, 18-year-old Kieran Donaldson, who denies murder.
Police are investigating after a teenager was stabbed in Kings Heath in Birmingham last night. It happened on Meadford Avenue just after 7:30. A 17-year-old was found with serious injuries and he's currently in hospital in a stable condition. Officers believe it was a targeted attack. 2 boys, aged 14 and 15, have been arrested on suspicion of wounding.
West Midlands Police has apologised to a man who claimed his turban was forcibly removed and stamped on by officers in Birmingham. The alleged incident took place in a custody suite in Perry Bar last week, which led to a protest outside the building. In a statement, the force said it understood the religious significance of head coverings. The police watchdog is now carrying out a full investigation.
A new case of highly transmissible avian flu has been confirmed at a bird rescue centre in Worcestershire. The H5N1 virus has been circulating in Europe in recent weeks, and the UK Health Security Agency says the risk to public health is very low, but DEFRA is urging poultry keepers and members of the public to report dead wild birds to its national helpline, but it does warn people not to touch them.
An urgent appeal has been launched for information after 2 men attacked a pensioner in his Birmingham home. 77-year-old Joseph Sharp was woken by 2 masked men who demanded the keys to a car on Moor Green Lane in the early hours of Thursday, the 23rd of September. A £5,000 reward for information is being offered by Crime Stoppers, who described the attack as an appalling level of brutality.
Next tonight, Christmas arrived in Birmingham today in the form of the ice rink, the Big Wheel and the Frankfurt Christmas Market. These attractions can normally see up to 5 million visitors a year and they're big earners for the local economy.
Well, coronavirus and Brexit, of course, have meant logistical and staffing challenges to overcome this year. Rosie Dowsing has been hearing from those organising this year's festivities. She's live in Centenary Square for us this evening. I want to ask what the atmosphere is like, but I kind of want to know, Rosie, whether it's feeling at all festive, because we've not even had bonfire night yet.
Yeah, Yeah, that's right. It's only November, but as it gets darker, these lights are shining and it's certainly feeling very festive indeed. And it's getting busier too as the night goes on. For the staff here, it's a real moment they've been waiting for. They've been planning this for 6 months. It's been being set up in the square for a month at least. The market's taken 2 weeks to set up. So for them, it's a real moment. And I spoke to them a little earlier about how they're feeling about opening. Familiar sights in Birmingham around Christmas time. The main attractions to the city during the festive season are back and open from today.
Just you can just sense the community spirit already, and we're only on the 4th of November, so brilliant.
Yeah, I love it. First day, you've got a beer, haven't you? Avoid all the crowds.
Yeah, we spoke about it for ages and we're just we'll come round and that.
Get hot chocolate, get a German sausage. You know, being in lockdown and stuff like that, you get into the routine of kind of not going out, you know, because it's been 2 years. But it is exciting, it is joyful as well.
Do you enjoy the market? What do you like about Christmas?
Toys.
This ice rink can welcome over 200 skaters an hour. I dusted off my own skates this morning and they were the first on the ice as it opened after 2 years. It wasn't nice last year to bring you the news of cancellation after cancellation. In fact, pretty much all of Christmas was cancelled due to the pandemic, which in Birmingham meant no big ice rink, no big wheel, no Frankfurt market. So it's wonderful to say that the festivities are back on. And people can really have some fun here.
We get enjoyment here, you know, meet new people, you know, have a good time here. It's open, it gets a bit busy, you know, everyone's having a laugh, having smiles. We have missed all that last year, so hopefully we get them all back and smiling again.
If skating isn't quite for you, there's also the big wheel, with panoramic views of Britain's second city. Meanwhile, Victoria Square has been transformed. This market is affiliated with the city of Frankfurt itself. 56 stallholders this year, which is smaller than normal, as Brexit and COVID did bring about some obstacles.
It was a challenge to come over, because Brexit is the reason. All things are much more difficult as in the past. But nevertheless, we are all really happy to be back in Birmingham.
In its peak year, this market generated over £400 million to the local economy, so it's a big deal for the city. Organisers, though, say this year will look a little different.
So the market is a little bit more spaced out than you might be used to. You'll see hand sanitizer stations all around, and as well the people serving you will be wearing masks or behind screens as appropriate.
The market's been coming to Birmingham for many, many years. It's a great event, it's a safe event, so I would welcome as many people to come and visit as possible.
2021 didn't get off to the best start with 6 months of coronavirus restrictions, but everyone here is hoping the return of these attractions will bring the year to a fittingly festive end. So I'm joined now by AB Danter of Danter Attractions, which is the company, family-run company that have set up this ice rink and this big wheel for years. So AB, thank you for joining me on what is probably the most busiest night of your year. How does it feel to be back after 2 years?
Well, I think you see by the smile on my face, it's absolutely fantastic to be back in Birmingham city centre. As you can see, you know, it looks fantastic. There's a lot of work gone into it, a lot of planning, and we just can't wait to welcome the people of Birmingham and around the country back here to this event.
And so obviously last year it couldn't go ahead due to coronavirus. At what point last year did you realise that an event of this size just simply couldn't go ahead?
Well, it was around about August, and you know, it was devastating for us because we're a small family business, and we had meetings with city centre management, the council, and we realised that Christmas was going to be cancelled, and you know, we were devastated. It was, you know, we had nothing, basically, we had nothing to do, we had no work. So, but anyway, you know, we're back, thank God we're back, and you know, it's great to be back.
Yes, that is certain for sure. It's great to see so many people back in the city centre, enjoying the city centre and everything that's on offer. This is going to be going on until the 9th of January. That's the big wheel and the ice rink, and the market in Victoria Square is going on until the 23rd of December.
OK, Rosie, thank you. I know you're too modest to talk about it, but we just do need to commend you very briefly on your skating skills, because they were absolutely next level.
They were. I mean, the market looks great, but your skating is even better.
Well done.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank
She
you.
said
Yeah,
modestly.
I mean, it's been 3 years.
You're showing us all
I
up.
loved it. I love that feeling.
Brilliant.
I
I
love
bet
the
you did.
feeling of the ice.
The wind through your hair. If it had
You
been us,
look
we'd have had one of those little penguins hobbling around.
Yeah, me
Brilliant.
too. I would have
Cheers,
been
Rosie.
standing at the edge.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right, now let's move on and talk about COP26, actually, which we have been all week, because if the world is to tackle the climate crisis head on, a major battleground will be the way we source our energy. The top priority for reducing carbon emissions is to switch from fossil fuels like oil and coal to renewable forms of energy such as wind power.
Yeah, so we've been given special access to a wind farm at Swinford on the Warwickshire-Leicestershire border. Now, we'll see that in a moment. But first, James Webster explains to us why coal is just so damaging.
Across the world, coal is still the biggest source of electricity, making up 35% of all power generated. And when it's burnt, it's also the biggest cause of greenhouse gases, 39% of carbon dioxide emissions. Reducing the use of coal would make the biggest contribution to reducing those emissions. The UK and Canada are two of the countries already committed to ending the use of coal-fired power stations. COP26 aims to get more countries to do the same and sooner. China is the world's biggest user of coal and the biggest emitter of greenhouse gases. Even though it is stopping financing coal production internationally, it is still building coal-fired power stations for its own energy supply. It is one of the countries that will see the biggest pressure to reduce its reliance on coal.
Now, as we mentioned a moment ago, Peter Bean has been to a wind farm on the Warwickshire-Leicestershire border for this special report.
Every gust has them in a spin. Every spin brings power to the people.
So this site has a capacity of 22 megawatts. That is enough energy to power around 16,500 UK homes annually.
Swinford Wind Farm and its 11 turbines were built in 2011. Operated by the Swedish firm Vattenfall, it's one of a swathe of farms spreading out across the Leicestershire-Warwickshire border. The winds of change blowing across the energy landscape.
Wind power has become very important, both on and offshore. Vattenfall have invested over £3.5 billion in UK renewable energy since 2008. So I think it's very important.
Buffeted by the elements, turbines need regular maintenance. It's why you'll sometimes see them out of action. Today, Andy Claridge and technician Josh Brow are making the 85-metre ascent to perform a task not for the faint-hearted. Wind power is fundamental to switching to a clean energy economy. Last year, for the first time, the UK generated more electricity from renewable sources like wind than it did from fossil fuels. Experts say the technology is there for renewables to power the whole world by 2050. It just needs those gathered at COP26 to show the political will.
Now, on a windy day like this, it's perfect conditions for the turbines, a little bit more challenging for our drone camera operator. But ironically, although these wind farms are seen as a major weapon in the battle against climate change could actually be making their job harder.
Studies have found global warming is likely to cut wind speeds in the Northern Hemisphere.
Does this mean that perhaps one day these turbines won't be as effective as they are now?
We are actually looking at co-locating solar farms on the same lands, actually here at Swinford. We think solar and wind complement each other very well, as generally in the summer months wind speed is lower and the solar farm performs better. Likewise in the winter when wind speeds tend to be higher, wind energy output tends to be better.
Wind farms sometimes alienate those living near them. The company behind this site has gone on a charm offensive. It hands out more than £40,000 a year to the local community to help reduce its own carbon footprint. It's paid for things like solar panels on this village hall. NIMBYism hasn't disappeared altogether, but it seems some has blown away.
I don't mind them. I think they're beautiful. I think they're much more attractive than pylons, for example, which we also need. We've got to make this decision because we need to rely on renewables much more. We can't afford to keep piling carbon into the atmosphere. So we need to do things like this. And although there are still some people who don't like them, I love them.
Love them or loathe them, the world surely needs more of them. The more the blades turn, the more the fortunes of the planet may turn with them. Peter Bean, ITV News.
Now let's turn our attention briefly to football, and in the Championship, West Brom beat Hull City last night at the Hawthorns. Carlan Grant got the only goal of the game for West Brom, who moved to within 6 points of the top spot after Bournemouth lost to Preston.
And there was also a win for Stoke City, who beat Blackpool by the same score. Stephen Fletcher's fortuitous finish, with the ball coming off his thigh, was enough to win the game 11 minutes from time. The Potters moved back up to 6th and into the playoff places as a result.
Now, the Pride of Britain Awards are on ITV later on this evening.
They're a chance for the world of showbiz to celebrate amazing people, including our West Midlands fundraiser, Veronica Kamata from Birmingham, who supports breast cancer patients. We caught up with her after the ceremony.
I've had an absolutely incredible night. It's been amazing, number one, to be here, because when you sit at home with your box of tissues, never in your wildest dreams do you think you're going to actually attend an event like this. And it's really wonderful to see that so many people around the country are doing amazing things. It makes me very proud to be British after a night like tonight. Really proud.
Oh, well, ahead of tonight's awards on ITV, Andy Bevan spoke to the first-time co-presenter of the event, Ashley Banjo.
Since 1999, the Pride of Britain Awards have been hosted single-handedly by Carol Vorderman, but this year she's enlisted the help of a co-host, and that co-host is diversity frontman, Dancing on Ice judge and all-round Mr Nice Guy, Ashley Banjo. And Ashley joins us now ahead of tonight's programme. Ashley, great to see you. How was it?
All-round Mr Nice Guy, thank you. It was great, actually. Just really inspiring. I was just super proud to be on the stage with Carol and just getting to meet all the amazing winners and hear their incredible stories, to be honest.
Of course, last year there was no physical awards. This year it's back again. Do you think that sort of added to the occasion this year?
I think there's always so much goodwill in the room at the Pride of Britain Awards, but this year was even more so because people were so grateful just to be out and in that room together and back in that environment, and hearing all about the winners' stories and how inspiring they were. It just felt like there was a real outpouring of energy. It was a really, really special moment.
It must be difficult not to get emotional during some of these stories.
It is, actually, especially when you see them come on stage, and there's so many of the winners that come up and they're grateful to be there, not realising that everybody in the room is just hugely grateful for the work that they're doing. So it is this kind of like circular good energy.
Well, let's talk specifically now about Veronica Kamata. She was the West Midlands Regional Fundraising Award winner. That's an amazing story as well, isn't it?
It is. You know, you meet so many incredible people, and Veronica is absolutely one. You know what started off for her as like a small fundraiser has now snowballed into raising, I think it's about 1.5 million for equipment that the NHS can't readily sort of get their hands on, which, you know, especially to fight breast cancer in women is hugely important. So the work that she's doing is kind of invaluable. So I'm just really I'm really happy that she's been recognised for that.
Of course, it's not just adults, lots of young people getting awards, as ever. You're a dad of two now. When you see these youngsters coming on stage to get the award, what goes through your mind?
It's completely changed for me since becoming a dad. You know, I've been involved with the Pride of Britain for a few years, 3 to 4 years, and I've got a 1 and a 2-year-old, and the story's always connected with me. But since having my kids, I look at the stories and I just see my little ones. And I left Pride of Britain, and the first thing I wanted to do is basically just hug my babies and just, you know, never take a minute of that for granted.
Well, look, the programme's on at 8 o'clock tonight on ITV. We'll see you for the first time co-presenting. Back again next year?
fingers crossed, catch it at 8 p.m. tonight, and hopefully everyone enjoys it because it's really special. And I'll be back next time. Fingers crossed.
Thanks very much.
See you soon.
So looking forward hugely to that, and great to see Veronica on there, enjoying the evening. Really good.
And having a great time and just enjoying being there.
Yeah, yes.
Well deserved.
Absolutely.
Well, staying with heroes, and the daughter of NHS fundraiser Captain Sir Tom Moore has visited the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire to see the area that the site has named after her late father.
Yes, Captain Sir Tom Moore Way is a walk which leads visitors to the Burma Star Memorial, which Captain Tom was awarded, over 250 metres, which is the distance Captain Tom walked each day as part of his epic fundraising challenge that shot him to fame.
What he did is he connected the generations, and he crossed the boundaries of gender, race, nationality, social status and age. And that representation is right here, isn't it? And this is for everybody. This is for everybody to remember the person that means something so much to them, but also allows you to remember everybody else.
Just lost count of the number of inspirational people in tonight's programme.
I know. What a fitting tribute to him.
Really good.
Time for a look at the weather now. Here's Manali.
Making the most of it, whatever the weather. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Central Weather.
Hello there, good evening to you. Hope you've had a lovely day. It's certainly been cold but bright. Tonight it's looking mostly dry. Tomorrow a little less cold. Some bright spells too, but we are expecting to see some rain on Saturday. If we take a look at the bigger picture, we've currently got high pressure sat to the west of us. As we head through into the weekend, that high pressure starts to pull away. Low pressure moves across the north, and that's going to bring some change in our weather as we head through into the weekend. So a spell of rain to come through for a time. You can see the squeeze in the isobars as well. The winds will pick up through this weekend as well. Now back to the here and now. Largely clear skies tonight, light winds too, and that's going to allow for some pockets of mist and fog to form, some frost forming initially as well, but then later on in the night, certainly as we head towards the early hours of Friday morning, cloud will start to spill in from the north. So our temperatures towards the end of the night picking up. I think tomorrow morning won't be quite as chilly as this morning. So for Friday itself, fairly cloudy skies, but there will be breaks in that cloud to give us some brightness from time to time, but also the clouds thick enough at times to produce the odd spot of rain as well. But for most it will stay dry. We've got a change in wind direction tomorrow, westerly winds, so our temperatures won't be quite as cold as today. So decent weather for bonfire night celebrations tomorrow night, and then for the weekend, as I mentioned, turning a little more unsettled. The winds will pick up through the weekend. Saturday certainly starting off dry, some bright spells first thing, but then the cloud will build, rain moving in, probably late afternoon, early evening. That clears through. Brighter skies on Sunday, but still staying quite windy. On Monday, the winds will slowly start to die down. Bye-bye for now.
Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Central Weather.
So that's almost it from us for this evening. Just want to say it's nice to have you back. I know you were in yesterday, but our first chance to work
Thank you. Since last year, wasn't it?
It's a long time.
So I'm not back for the whole year. I've just been back for a few days.
Okay.
And then I'm going back on maternity leave, and then I'll be back in the new year.
So you've had enough for a bit. Now, are the boys watching? Are they?
Well, we've been making them watch the news. I was like, Mummy is on the TV, you will watch. So, yeah, there they are.
They seem engrossed, you have to say.
And then they're more interested maybe in the camera than I was like, look, and then I think I've lost Hellier.
Yeah, he's gone.
A bit like,
he's not interested anymore.
I'm not interested in this anymore.
So when we get our viewing figures tomorrow, I just need to add 2. I'm going to write that down.
Well, there you go. I think I'm doing my best to try and get more viewers in.
You've got to start them young.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right from there, we watch it in the morning, all through the day.
That's it. Don't let them watch anything else.
No,
that's the key
they
thing.
have no choice.
Repetition is the key. That is it from us for the time being. The ITV Evening News is, of course, coming up next.
Yes, and I'm back for the late news at 10:30. Until then, you can always head to our website, of course. I hope you have a great evening, though. Good night.
Bye-bye.